Hey,
Hey!
hey, welcome to channel14.com's Bodega Nights. I'm Joao.
And I'm Paulo, otherwise known as Axel.
What have you been up to, man?
I've just been stuck in Ormoc on work-related matters. I've also been playing a few games here and there, and generally like thinking about certain things as well, as well as entertaining some of my other interests.
And we won't go there unless you want to talk about some of your interests. But you know,
the interest in question is actually has more to do with like fish keeping or something like that.
oh yeah, you have like you're an aquarium buff or whatever it's called, right? Like what's that?
Let's just say I have the knowledge, but I haven't applied it.
Okay. It's like
I read the it's like I read the books, I go to the forums, I do the research, I look up like various odd fish, but other than that, I haven't really had the time to like apply it. But that,
like, you haven't taken the time to sit down and breed them arowanas and stuff.
The thing that's kind of stopped me is actually the fact that I don't have the space.
Oh yeah, your house is like kind of tight.
Very. I actually only have enough space for a 2-3 foot aquarium right now.
Yeah. Wait, so what have you been playing though? Like what? Wait, like transitioning to video games. What have you been playing? And like, are you going to put it out as Paulo plays indie games?
Right.
Unless you've been playing
right
like
now,
AAA stuff.
I haven't exactly been playing AAA stuff recently. I dabble around with a few games, and to my most recent knowledge, the games I played were largely Warframe and Expendables. You know, the free to play. Well, not so much free to play, but the free download version of Broforce.
What is that game? Is it like any good? Broforce? Like I've heard of it, but never got around to playing it, or indeed watching playthroughs of it.
To put it lightly, Broforce is technically similar to Metal Slug, except all of the environment is destroyable and all of your playable characters are based on action heroes. And you don't choose your character. Well, actually,
Your character
you do get to choose your character.
Like in Soviet Russia.
Well, kind of, because when you die, you instantly change characters. Like each life, you change characters.
Okay, wow, that actually looks really. It actually looks really cool. Like I'm looking at their Wikipedia entry. Like, started as a game jam entry. Like wow.
Oh yeah, it was a game jam entry. And Broforce just came.
Oh, go ahead.
Broforce just came out, I think, a week ago, like full release. The game was in early access for 3 years prior.
Yeah. Huh. It really went through like that sort of indie dev cycle, which is like game jam, early access, wider release. And it's on everything. It's on Windows, OS 10, and Linux, and PS4. Huh.
The thing I'm happy about is that this didn't end up being another Stomping Lands situation.
And of course, it's on the Unity engine. Use the Unity engine. Of course it does.
As with most of these indie games that generally tend to end up coming out on everything.
And you should totally do a pigs on this.
I'm gonna be doing a pigs on Expendables. They basically made a version of Broforce where all your playable characters are based on one of the Expendables.
Yeah. That's really interesting. The standalone expansion came out before the official release of the game. That was in 2014, apparently.
That was when Expendables 3 came out, right?
Yeah?
The year?
I guess. Last year?
Yeah. It was... because I know for a fact that Expendables was supposed to be a tie-in. Not sure how that ended up happening. I think either the movie studio looked at this and probably came to the developer of Broforce and asked them to like do something as part of some co-promotion or something like that.
Oh, it's free to play right now, huh? The Expendables.
Yeah, it's free.
Huh. That's not bad. Well, I don't know. Is it a fun game? Like, are you having
as
fun
far as
with it?
Yes, it is. However, I also should note that Expendables is pretty short. Well, it is free.
And as a video game tie-in, I mean, as a movie tie-in video game, like those things tend to be short and kind of suck. But I don't know. It's pretty good actually. It works. It's basically just the base game of Broforce with an Expendable skin. Huh.
So it's not like that Expendables tie-in game that was released on Xbox Live, and PSN, I think, in line with the release of Expendables 2.
Okay. So, like, they learned their lesson, I guess. But the last time that something like this, or the last time that I can remember an existing game being reskinned as a movie tie-in, it also kind of sucked. Like, do you remember that game Batman Forever for the SNES? Which was pretty much like Mortal Kombat, except they put you through levels and stuff.
I seem to remember that, but I also remember... I forgot which one was the Batman game that was basically an arcade beat-em-up.
There was a Batman the Animated Series, which was sort of like that. They were all like side-scrollers. That one was they were all like pretty much side-scrollers.
The one I'm describing was actually more like the X-Men arcade game. Only it was one player.
Huh.
And it was
probably
on...
like Batman.
I forgot it was...
I don't know.
It was based on a movie, I recall. And it was either on the SNES or the Genesis, as I seem to recall.
It was probably Batman Returns, because I don't remember playing that game as a kid. And...
Okay.
Like the other... like I do remember like Batman the Animated Series a lot, and I remember the Batman Forever game, but I don't remember like a beat 'em up style.
Sort of I should probably
game.
look.
Oh, it's
up
Batman Returns. Yeah, I was just checking. Got a health bar and everything.
Batman Forever was weird. Basically, you had to do fighting game things in order to progress in a 2D platformer.
Yes.
And you had to do and there were certain scenarios where you had to do like specific moves in order to progress.
Well, I actually did finish that game as a kid though, which was, I don't know.
Weird. Kudos to you. That means you kudos to you, I guess. Kudos to you.
Although, yeah, I do remember, like, looking back on it, it really wasn't that good a game. Well, Batman the Animated Series is pretty good. But then, technically, that wasn't a movie tie-in, so...
Yeah, that was a tie-in for the TV show. And if I'm correct, that was the same game where basically well, I think I'm talking about the Genesis version here, but that was the same game where your main attack was basically throwing batarangs.
Well, that could have been, because on the SNES or on the SNES or whatever, the SNES, that way, like, nobody calls us out for pronouncing it incorrectly, because we've gotten most of them. You'd punch people and stuff. Like, you'd smack you punch them in the face. Except for the second level, I think. Because that was, like, the poison ivy level, and my guess is they didn't want you to... They didn't want to encourage hitting women. So, instead of, like, punching the lady goons or whatever of poison ivy, like, you just throw their he just throws batarang to stun them.
Because what I remember with the Genesis version, and what I remember with the Genesis version was basically that throughout the entirety of the game, your only real attack was the batarang. It was basically like the gun. Your batarangs were the equivalent of the gun in Contra. You could get power-ups to basically like have a spreader version of the batarang and all that.
Okay. Huh. Was it developed by Konami? Did Konami develop for Genesis?
I actually forgot if it was Konami or someone else. I know that Robin was the second player character.
Oh, wow. I should go back and play that game, dude. Like, it's like I was really... No, it wasn't... it was The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Not Batman, the animated series, but rather The Adventures of Batman and Robin. So that way we don't get any angry emails and stuff.
So, is that the game that you are describing or I'm describing?
Oh, they're both The Adventures of Batman and Robin. One was for Genesis and one was for the Super Nintendo.
So it's basically like what was going on back in the day, the differences between versions.
Yeah.
That we don't really get that anymore now. It's basically just parity now.
Yeah. Which is a good thing, I guess. Like, yeah. I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. That's a topic for... Okay, go ahead.
Though technically the argument could be that instead of having two different games on two different platforms, you have both games available on both platforms, but market them as different games from each other. If you were to do that in this time.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you kind of need to, especially with the way the game industry works right now.
Oh, that's what's it? That is a good topic for Third World Gaming, the podcast, which you're planning to bring back.
I'm planning to bring it back as a more regular feature, largely as a more regular feature, or just so that we have content regularly coming out. Because right now I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of like in a bit of a rut with pigs, and I'm also dealing with the fact that because I'm not at my rig all the time, it'll be harder for me to like record and edit, since I don't really have any machines I could do any of those things with that I could bring around with me. So yeah, getting back to recording the Third World podcast is kind of a necessary thing. And also, there are a number of topics that I feel that Miko and I can like talk about and flesh out and make interesting conversation about, as well as make conversation about in a very, very much a third world perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I actually kind of miss that, like, sort of video games from the perspective of folks on this side of the world, you know?
Well, actually, let me correct you on that. I was gaming from the perspective of the third world, so it wasn't just video.
Well, yeah, fine, the tabletop and stuff. What was it? Tabletop.
Basically, other forms of gaming besides video games.
Yeah.
And anything coming up on your end?
Dude, we were interviewed by for Third World Linux. We had an interview, a conversation. We were guests on this podcast, System AU.
Oh, okay.
This podcast out of Australia was pretty cool.
Like, okay. How long? So when was this?
30 minutes. About 30 minutes. Came out last Sunday. Monday our time. We recorded it. We recorded it on Sunday, and then Monday they released it. So
okay,
it's pretty cool, man. Like, and they have this, like, I really love their podcast. They have like little musical interludes or musical breaks and stuff. And one of the pieces that they played was one of the songs from the Christmas album. From one of the Christmas albums that I wrote.
Nice.
Gopal's song, Lamb Keema. I'm actually thinking of putting like some of the songs from those albums on the site on channel 14.
So you're going to be putting them up to be as playable files, or you're going to be putting them up for download?
Probably, like, I'm thinking of putting them up as a torrent. Just, I don't know, like 10 songs from the Christmas albums, or just 10 songs that I wrote, and put them up on the site as a torrent.
I suggest you do. It would be. I don't see anything. I don't see how that could be. I don't see how anything wrong could come of that.
Except for some of the jokes that could get some of our friends into trouble.
Well, we don't want anybody arrested or put under suspicion of unsavory actions that they may
not.
Oh, good gosh. Seriously, Joe?
Which they may or may not be engaged in.
Seriously, Joe? Wait, seriously?
No, of course not, man. And, well, like, say, for example, the AG song that has the...
Yeah, you're not releasing that. Yeah,
I really like that song, though, but no.
Current circumstance makes that an unwise decision.
Yeah, it's gonna get his girlfriend really mad.
Pissed.
But, you know. And I guess, like, part of it is also, like, picking out the songs that aren't just, like, purely inside jokes. Like, there's that song about...
I don't know.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Is it really that hard for you? I mean, you made I think upwards of 40 plus songs. I assume it'd be easy enough to pick out 10.
Yeah, you know, a lot of them were inside jokes, and yeah, I was doing an inventory of the songs that we did, right, or the songs that I wrote in the past couple of years, and some of them, no, a whole lot of them were inside jokes, like good songs, but inside jokes. So like that song about Seema's car, for example, like really good song, or pretty good song, pretty funny, but it's just layered with inside jokes.
As an offhand clarification, Joe, I'd just like to know, does Seema still have that car?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
It's been a while, but I think he still has that car. The Seema Mobile.
Okay.
Yeah. And
well,
they also have to be like songs that are good, because some songs aren't really that good.
Based on a second examination?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a specific example. I don't know. Yeah, a number of them aren't very good, and you know, a lot of them are just either inside jokes or straight up like, this is what we're gonna do when Mike gets back from Switzerland, you know, or
London, apparently.
Oh, yeah, he's in London now, huh?
Yeah, he's in jolly old England.
But then, yeah, and like Company of Four, total inside joke. But then, you know, there were some songs that I think like actually work, even if they were directed specifically towards, like, you know, like the Olivia Wilde song was pretty good, and Lamb Kima was really good. So
if you're going to release anything, those two might be there.
Yeah.
So I'll just assume right now that the Ballad of JJ is a no.
That's a no.
Yeah, absolute no.
That's a big no.
Absolute no.
Oh man, actually, like there is a short list that I put together. Yeah, the Love Story in Exile, Haiku to Heroic Verse, Lamb Kima, Nicole, No Amount of Therapy, Norm, Olivia, Pedo Party, Perfect from the Start. I'll probably put them out on Channel 14 on the Channel 14 website, if it's okay with you guys.
It's fine with me, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Yeah, might as well. Third World Linux. And that last episode we did. Oh, wait, huh?
Did you finally get Voyager OS?
Voyager OS. We decided to put the distro reviews on hold for a bit until AG gets a computer that actually runs Linux, or a computer that isn't from Apple.
Why?
Because Apple is pretty much designed to run Apple software, right? So like, it's a bit cumbersome to get like a distribution of Linux on an Apple product. Yeah. Because AG now has a MacBook Pro 2006, notoriously difficult to get Linux running on there. Like you have to be a bit hacky. I'm not sure about any of the other machines that he has, but he pretty much lives in a Mac household right now. Kind of weird.
So is it basically in a Macintosh fortress as it currently stands? The lone Linux vanguard biding his time for the right moment until he can unleash his open source magic.
He's broke and can't afford to buy his own computer, so he has to rely on hand-me-downs from his dad, pretty much.
Which usually tend to be Apple.
Yeah, because of the nature of the work, or because of the nature of his father's work. So, that's what we're stuck with. And wasn't able to get Voyager OS. Although, like, we actually kind of do have to do distro reviews again. At least I have to, because it is October, and that's when all of the Ubuntus release. Or that's one of the months that the Ubuntus and their like derivatives, or their official, called flavors, their official flavors are released. So
could you run me down? Could you give me a basic rundown of what these Ubuntus are? Because I heard a plural there.
Yeah, the main distribution is Ubuntu, but then you know how like on Linux you have different desktops.
Yes,
you have different desktop environments. So what tends to happen, or what the way it's set up now is you have the Ubuntu base without. You have the Ubuntu base without like think of it without a GUI, right? Like without a desktop. And then the official like mainline Ubuntu has this desktop environment called Unity put on top of it. So that's official Ubuntu. Then you have the XFCE desktop environment, which is Xubuntu with an X at the beginning. You have the Mate desktop, so it's the Ubuntu Mate edition. You have LXDE desktop, which is Lubuntu. You have the KDE desktop, which is Kubuntu. Then you have more specialized distributions of Ubuntu, like the version that ships in China. You have Edubuntu, which is for education. You have Ubuntu Studio, which is geared towards content creators, artists, whatever. Like, you have all of these different Ubuntus that release at around the same time, and they're all sort of officially partnered with mainline Ubuntu, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Though I would like to ask for clarification, but what exactly can you not do with base Ubuntu that you can do with Ubuntu Studio?
Nothing. I mean, Ubuntu Studio is pretty much base Ubuntu. Well, it's Ubuntu, but then what did they do? Ubuntu Studio comes pre-installed with a lot of media production. That's what I was looking for earlier. It comes pre-installed with a lot of media production software, right? So for movie editing, for photo editing, for music making, that sort of thing. It comes pre-installed with all of that. And they have a low latency kernel instead of like the standard Linux kernel or the standard Ubuntu kernel or whatever. Instead of the Ubuntu Linux kernel, I guess is what you can call it. Oh no, these are generic. Anyway, but yeah, they have a low latency kernel.
So apart from a low latency kernel and pre-installed productivity software, there really isn't much of a difference.
Yeah, I guess.
So basically, the reason why someone would be picking Ubuntu Studio over Ubuntu would be convenience.
Yeah, I mean theoretically, you could, switch the kernel, and you could apt-get your way to glory with all of the software. But come on, man, just download Ubuntu Studio.
Yeah, so basically, convenience.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, like theoretically you could just write like a script or something that minus the kernel. You could write a script that converts your Ubuntu installation into an Ubuntu Studio edition. Because they use the XFCE desktop. Yeah. So like theoretically you could do that, but
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we should be doing that. And I think there's like an interesting discussion to be had on the latest Ubuntu release, because it's kind of boring.
So nothing much improved, changed, reworked, or anything of the sort.
Yeah, like it's sort of just steady, At least mainline Ubuntu, or like vanilla Ubuntu, or AG calls it normal Ubuntu. At least normal Ubuntu is just, updated software. Nothing insanely game changing.
Okay.
Right? Like it's, like some authors have used the word or some reviewers or whatever have used the word boring to describe it. And like the question that I posed to AG, or the question that I want to pose to AG is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like to have Ubuntu be boring.
So basically it was just a very vanilla update, and I assume that mostly it just handles a few stability fixes wherever the stability is needed.
Yeah, and a few cosmetic changes here and there, like the scroll bars act a little bit differently, that sort of thing.
Any tangible improvements?
You know what? I really wouldn't know, because I tried to run it on my old laptop, my brother's old laptop, and it runs really slow. Like that's always been my problem with normal Ubuntu. Like it isn't something that you can deploy in a lot of secondhand hardware that you find in public schools in the Philippines. Like you're not going to be able to get normal Ubuntu on some of those old machines. So it isn't third worldable.
Okay.
So for anybody that listens to Third World Linux that just happens to be listening to Bodega Nights as well, this is like a little bit of a spoiler on the Ubuntu 15.10 gets the third world treatment. It isn't very third worldable, but it does have its place, right? Because I don't think it's healthy for Linux to be perceived as the operating system that you put on old hardware that doesn't work with the latest version of Windows, because that sort of devalues Linux in sort of the eyes of the person that's using the operating system, right? Because we have this because people have this weird notion that just because something has the kitchen sink thrown into it, it all of a sudden becomes the superior product, right? And
okay.
Yeah, because, you have all sorts of stuff that comes with it. And the heavier something is, the more value we assign to it. Like, if you remember the quote-unquote controversy with those Beats by Dre headphones where they put, like, little weights in them to make them feel more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. I see where you're getting at.
Right? Like, it doesn't... Like, actual performance doesn't matter. It's just that it'll run on expensive hardware.
Okay.
Yeah, if you throw the kitchen sink, then there's that.
Okay.
I guess that's
actually,
it's something that you give to people that have good hardware because it's well supported and. All right, go ahead.
Actually, I would like to ask: does at least based on what you've seen and heard, does Linux have that reputation of being basically the option for old or weak hardware? Does it have that reputation?
When your laptop died, you wanted to put Linux on it, right?
Admittedly.
Or like when your laptop was dying, you wanted to put Linux on it. Bok wanted to put Linux on his dying laptop as well. Like Linux isn't viewed as like the new and shiny, at least to the general tech world, I think. Which is a topic for third world Linux, I think, that I can bring up with AG as well. Like, is it healthy? Or no, should we just abandon the quote unquote branding of Linux? Like, is Ubuntu correct in marketing itself as Ubuntu and not as Linux as part of their messaging?
Okay.
Because of the reputation that Linux has. Like on the desktop, I guess, like the nerdier people will see Linux as that alternative that you put on old hardware, or that thing with the command line that only geeky people really use.
Well, I know for a fact that at least in some circles, Linux is, most Linux distributions are already being looked upon as the, for lack of a better term, the more private alternative to say Windows, especially after the whole Windows 10 debacle.
Oh man, that was really that was terrible. Hey, we're going to take all of your information and you won't have a say in it.
And it does. And I have no idea how this statement is going to factor into this discussion we're having right now. But I'm currently recording off of a Windows 10 system.
Hello, NSA.
Hi Microsoft. Hi NSA. Hi Prism. Hi Illuminati.